Ask any schoolboy who was responsible for the Romantic revival, and he will tell you Wordsworth and Coleridge. It is almost universally accepted that, or even universally accepted that, William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge were responsible for bringing Romanticism to English poetry. But the fact is that William Blake was a romantic. William Blake was a romantic poet, and a gifted romantic poet at that. And he wrote his highly romantic poetry much before the publication of the lyrical ballads. The hardcore fans of William Blake, who are very few in number, hold that it was William Blake and not Wordsworth and Coleridge who was responsible for initiating the Romantic movement in English poetry. William Blake rejected the heroic couplet. William Blake wrote about nature. William Blake wrote about the marginalized sections of society. William Blake displayed a genuine concern for the poor and the deprived. William Blake was a mystic, and there was a strong mystical element in his poetry. William Blake was a passionate admirer of medieval art and medieval architecture, and there is a strong element of medievalism in his work. William Blake was a revolutionary in politics, and he sympathized with the ideals of the American and the French revolutions. So the question is, what what is there in Wordsworth and Coleridge? What is there in romantic poetry that is not in William Blake? William Blake can rightly be credited with the responsibility for initiating the Romantic movement in English poetry, at least according to his hardcore admirers. His admirers may call William Blake the first romantic poet in English, but a more balanced assessment would be that he was a pre-romantic. William Blake was a printmaker by profession, a gifted printmaker, a gifted engraver, a gifted artist, a gifted painter. And Jonathan Jones, the 21st century British art critic, declared that William Blake is the greatest artist Britain has ever produced. The Tiger is easily the most popular, the most anthologized, the most highly prescribed poem of William Blake. It has found its way into numerous school and college textbooks. It appears to be a very simple poem, but the fact is that it is not a simple poem. It is not a simple poem. The simplicity of the tiger is deceptive. Most students Most students fail to comprehend the poem in all its profundity, in all its complexity. Let us take a look at the tiger. We shall begin by examining the title of the poem. William Blake has titled the poem The Tiger. Blake was born in 1757, and it was in 1757 that the Battle of Plassey was fought. The Battle of Plassey is a pivotal battle in the history of India. The East India Company won the Battle of Plassey through treachery, and the foundation of the British Empire was laid. The victory of the East India Company on the battlefields of Plassey made them overnight the masters of Bengal. The tiger that William Blake writes about in this poem is surely the Bengal tiger, which was then known as the Royal Bengal tiger. The East India Company officials made arrangements for the capture of live tigers and made arrangements for taking the live tigers to England where they were exhibited in a zoo. In all probability, William Blake took a close look at those tigers, and the experience of seeing a tiger at close quarters must have overwhelmed him. This poem is a result of that experience. The tiger, which incidentally is the national animal of India and also the national animal of Bangladesh, is the biggest cat species. It has fascinated humans down the centuries. It is remarkable for its beauty, its power, its dynamism, its agility, its fierceness. It is an apex predator. It is charismatic megafauna. The tiger, with its black stripes, its brown fur, its hypnotic eyes, its fierce look, is certainly one of the most marvelous of God's creations. What does the tiger stand for? That depends on your perspective, that depends on your culture, that depends on your context. The tiger is certainly an animal with profound symbolic value. And it is this symbolic value that William Blake attempts to tap in this poem. The tiger in this poem is most certainly a real tiger, a real Bengal tiger, a royal Bengal tiger, with all its beauty and power. But it is much more than a mere tiger. It is much more than a mere tiger. It is a symbol. It is a representation. It stands for so many different things. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? The tiger was published as part of the collection Songs of Experience in 1794, certainly before the Lyrical Ballads was published. And Blake is writing about a tiger. Can you imagine Dryden or Pope writing about a tiger? Blake is writing about a tiger. Blake is writing about nature. Blake is writing about what became the favorite subject area of Wordsworth in particular and of the Romantic poets in general. Thus, William Blake can be called a romantic before the Romantic movement. The contact with the Indian subcontinent that England gained as a result of the establishment of the outposts of the East India Company in India, in the various parts of India, resulted in effecting a revolutionary change in the perspectives, ideas, tastes, paradigms of the English. I would like to submit that the poem under consideration is a result of such a change. Coming from England, a country with practically no wildlife, or at least no wildlife worth the name. Please forgive me for saying this. I'm a student of English language and literature, a student of English history, a student of English culture, a great admirer of English literature, English culture, and I think I know more about England or more about Britain, more about the United Kingdom than about any country in the world other than my own country, India. But I can't help saying that there is hardly any wildlife in England. Or at least, I'll put it this way, compared to the wildlife in India, the wildlife in England is very unimpressive. There is hardly any wildlife. Even the fallow deer was introduced by the Normans into England. The wild boar was introduced by the Romans into England. And I don't know whether the fallow deer can be called wildlife. It's more feral than wild. Many of the deer have escaped from parks and they are actually feral deer. In contrast to this, the fauna of the Indian subcontinent is amazing in its variety, in its richness. And it is this spectacular variety, spectacular richness that appears to have inspired William Blake to write this poem. Some minutes back, I think I used the word zoo. Zoo is too modern a term. The more appropriate term would have been menagerie. Tigers were exhibited in menageries in England, in 18th century England. And in all probability, William Blake must have got an opportunity to see such a tiger at close quarters, to observe it. And this poem was the result of such an observation. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. The poet imagines the tiger in its natural habitat. The tiger in this poem is not in a menagerie. It is in a forest. In all probability, a Royal Bengal tiger in a forest in India. The forest is dark. It's a thick forest. Tiger, tiger, burning bright. The tiger appears to burn like a light in the background of the dark forest. The tiger with its orange fur, its stripes, its fierce look, certainly capable of capturing the imagination of a poet like William Blake. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? The poet immediately thinks of the creator of the tiger with all its fierceness, all its power, all its dynamism, all its vibrancy, fascinates the poet. And the poet wonders how could be, or what sort of a figure could be the creator of the tiger. What immortal hand or eye? Immortal is without death, lasting forever. The Greek gods were looked upon as immortals. Here I think you can say it means divine. No ordinary figure could create the tiger. What immortal hand, what divine hand or eye. The two things that you need to create something great. The eye, the vision, the perspective, the idea, the hand, to give life to that vision, to put the idea into practice. It would appear that the creator of the tiger, the divine creator of the tiger, the immortal creator of the tiger, had both the capacity to envision and the capacity to execute. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? Frame in the sense of prepare, frame, envision, thy fearful symmetry. Fearful, I think, in the sense of very great, not in the sense of displaying fear or causing fear. Symmetry is proportion, balance. To the poet, the tiger appears to be perfectly balanced. The proportions are perfect. The various parts match one another. And if you bring about a slight change, if you bring about a marginal alteration, it is bound to disrupt the proportion, bound to shatter the balance. The poet wonders which divine creator, which divine force could have managed to make the tiger, to frame, to formulate and execute the idea of the tiger. I'm reminded of Northrop Frye's 1947 study of William Blake titled fearful symmetry, fearful symmetry. In what distant deeps or skies burnt the fire of thine eyes? In the second stanza, the poet wonders from where the Creator got the fire that he put into the eyes of the tiger. The poet is clearly impressed beyond words by the spirit of the tiger, by the spark in the eyes of the tiger. And the poet wonders from where the spark came. Did it come from distant seas, distant oceans? Did it come from distant skies? Certainly, there is something in the spirit of the tiger, in the spark that one can see in the eyes of the tiger. There is something which you don't find anywhere around you. This must have come from some distant place which has nothing to do with the place where the poet finds himself. As I have already pointed out, by the side of the tiger, the wildlife of England appears tame, unimpressive, soporific. And the poet is certain that the Creator must have acquired the spark that one can see in the eyes of the tiger from some distant ocean or from some distant sky. It is not enough that the spirit was identified in some distant sky or some deep part of the ocean. It had to be brought here. The poet wonders how it was done, how the Creator flew to the deeps, to the skies, to the deep parts of the sea, deep parts of the ocean, or the distant skies, and how he captured the spark and brought it back. It would certainly have been a tremendous task, a task too difficult to be described in words. But that precisely was what the Creator must have done. And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart. The third stanza discusses the actual creation of the tiger, the actual fabrication of the tiger, as in a workshop or as in a factory. The poet wonders how much strength, shoulder, how much force would have gone into the creation of the tiger. Not just force, but also art, skill, tremendous, amazing power, amazing force, and amazing skill or amazing art would have gone into the creation of the tiger, could twist the sinews of thy heart. Sinews are tendons, sinews are ligaments. A sinew is a tough fibrous tissue which binds bone and muscle. It can also mean power. It can also mean those parts of a structure, of an organization, or a structure or a framework responsible for binding the various parts together and imparting power to the organization or the framework or the structure. The poet is overwhelmed by the very idea of the creation of the tiger and wonders how much energy, how much power, how much force on the one hand, and how much art and how much skill, how much deftness on the other would have gone into the fabrication of the heart of the tiger. And when thy heart began to beat, what dread hand and what dread feet? Dread in the sense of terrible, dread in the archaic sense of inspiring awe, inspiring reverence, inspiring respect. Once the heart started beating, the hand, the feet, my God, they were beyond words, they were beyond description. Now the question is, to whom do these belong, the hand, the feet? Do they belong to the tiger, or do they belong to the creator of the tiger? I think that the best answer would be that they belong to both. The first interpretation is that they belong to the tiger. The second interpretation is that they belong to the creator of the tiger. I think the second interpretation is strengthened by the fact that the poet uses the word hand. Dread hand is more applicable to the creator of the tiger than to the tiger itself. Moving to the next answer, the hammer, the chain, the furnace, the anvil are all instruments used by the blacksmith or the ironsmith. The poet imagines the tiger being made in a workshop or in a factory. And these are the instruments that are used to fabricate, to manufacture the tiger. The hammer is an instrument with a heavy metal piece fixed at right angles to its handle, which is usually made of wood. The anvil is the block, is the iron block on which the material to be hammered is placed. The furnace is a container in which extremely high temperatures are reached. The furnace is used for burning or melting metal. In what furnace was thy brain? The poet wonders in which furnace the brain of the tiger would have been made. The tiger, the apex predator, the agile predator, capable of capturing most of the other animals in the forest. Its brain, something fantastic should be there in it. And the poet wonders where this brain was made, in which furnace it was made. The instruments by themselves would not have been sufficient for the creation of the tiger. There would have been a master blacksmith, a master ironsmith in the workshop in order to create the tiger. That is what is conveyed by the last part of the stanza. What dread grasp! The master worker, the master fabricator, creating something which, when complete, would or might succeed in terrifying him in terrifying the Creator himself, should have been there. When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? The penultimate stanza makes it clear that it was only after a strenuous effort, it was only after a tremendous effort that the Creator succeeded in creating the tiger. When the stars threw down their spears could be rays of light. It is dawn. The sun is about to rise, and the stars, which had been shining throughout the night, are becoming invisible and watered heaven with their tears. The morning mist has made its appearance. It is possible to interpret this stanza to mean that it took one full night, one complete night, one whole night for the Creator to create the tiger. When the stars threw down their spears and watered heaven with their tears. When the poem begins, it is night. It would appear that the Creator started the work of fabricating the tiger, creating the tiger, when night began. And by the time he completed the work, the night had come to an end, or was coming to an end. I would like to foreground this story against the biblical story of creation as embedded in the book of Genesis in the Holy Bible. In the book of Genesis in the Holy Bible, it is said that on day six, God created all the animals of the world and also the first human beings, Adam and Eve. Thus, God takes one day to create all the fauna of the world and also the first man, Adam, and the first woman, Eve. But here God takes one full night to create just one animal, and that animal is the tiger. The poet now wonders whether the Creator was happy with his work. Did he smile his work to see? God created the tiger, but once he created the tiger, was he happy with the tiger? The tiger, the embodiment of power, bloodthirstiness, cruelty, predatory instincts. Did he smile his work to see? Did he who make the lamb make thee? That is a very powerful question. I think I told you that the tiger in the poem is very much a real tiger, a Royal Bengal tiger, but also a symbol. Here, the tiger can stand for evil. Why did God create evil? William Blake was a committed Christian, very familiar from his childhood itself with the Holy Bible. And the Holy Bible teaches that God created the universe, everything in the universe. God created Satan. God created evil. Now the question is, why did God create the tiger? Assuming that the tiger symbolizes evil. The problem of evil is a complex problem which has vexed many theologians, many religious scholars. We say that God created Satan. Why did God create Satan? The tiger could be a symbol for evil. The tiger could be a symbol for Satan. And Satan, you must remember, was an embodiment, is an embodiment of force, power, dynamism, charisma. And I think the tiger is a very apt symbol for Satan, the bloodthirsty tiger, the cruel tiger, the apex predator of the forests of India, is a very appropriate symbol for Satan. Did he who make the lamb make thee? God created good, the lamb, a very strong Christian symbol. The lamb appears repeatedly in the Bible. The lamb symbolizes meekness, purity, innocence, goodness. The question that Blake poses, it's a very powerful question. It cannot be answered easily. Did he who made the lamb make thee? If God is the creator of everything in the universe, well then God made evil. God created Satan. God created evil. God created good. God created the angels. It is very difficult to believe that the very creator who created a lamb also created the tiger. Thus, here the poet makes a tangential reference to the problem of evil and the interpretations of the problem of evil that have been propounded down the centuries by theologians and Bible scholars. I think that in the context of the 18th century, in the context of the rapid expansion of the Indian Empire, of the East India Company, the tiger perhaps stands for the East India Company, and the lamb stands for India. When you study the writings of William Blake, when you study the etchings of William Blake, the pictures of William Blake, you realize that he was acutely aware of the problem of colonization, acutely aware of the cruelty, the evil, the exploitation that was let loose, by colonialism. You have etchings of slaves, etchings of William Blake, in which slaves are depicted, in which the torture of black persons is depicted, in which the exploitation of the conquered races is depicted. William Blake was certainly acutely aware of the evil that colonialism was doing in the various parts of the world, that the East India Company was doing in its Indian empire. And keeping that in mind, I think it would not be too far-fetched to say that one interpretation could be that the tiger symbolizes the East India Company and the lamb symbolizes India, the helpless country ruthlessly conquered and exploited by the forces of the East India Company. The last answer is a repetition of the first answer with a minor change in the very last line of the poem. Thus, the poem comes full circle. Its shape is like that of a snake with its tail in its mouth. The poem is a snake with its tail in its mouth. I think I said minor change, but I think I was wrong. It is a rather significant change. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? That's how the first stanza goes. But in the last stanza, the poet says, dare frame thy fearful symmetry. Dare frame. Because by now the tiger has been created. When the poem began, the process of creating the tiger had only been initiated. But now the tiger has been created. And so, while in the first stanza the poet wonders who could have created the tiger, who could possibly create the tiger, now the poet expresses his admiration for the creator of the tiger, the daring of the man, the daring of the figure, the daring of the creator. The poet expresses his awe for the strength, for the power, for the imagination, for the daring, for the boldness, for the skill, for the art that has gone into the creation of the tiger. The poem is divided into 6 stanzas of 4 lines each. The rhyme scheme is AABB. Sometimes the poet uses half rhyme rather than full rhyme. The diction is simple. The poet uses everyday words. There is no word in the poem which a schoolboy would find to be unfamiliar. The poet uses a variety of literary devices in the poem. They include assonance and alliteration, as in burning bright, repetition, as in tiger, tiger, personification, as in when the stars threw down their spears, metaphor, as in the forests of the night, symbolism. We have already discussed that the tiger is a real tiger. The tiger is also a symbol. The tiger could symbolize evil. The tiger could symbolize Satan. The tiger could symbolize the East India Company, though some of you may feel that this is a bit too far-fetched. And the poet wonders whether the same creator created the tiger and the lamb. Probably the poet is trying to convey the theory that the ways of God are beyond human comprehension. The poem is supported by strong visual imagery, right from the first stanza to the last stanza. There is powerful visual imagery which overwhelms the reader. The poet makes use of rhetorical questions, as in what the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? A series of rhetorical questions. A rhetorical question is a question which is posed not for getting an answer, but for emphasizing a statement. It is actually a statement in the form of a question. The poet has provided the poem with a cyclic structure. The poem begins more or less, or rather, the poem ends more or less as it begins. Thus, it comes full circle. The shape of the poem is that of a snake with its tail in its mouth. I would like to point out that the tiger of William Blake invites comparison and also contrast with the lamb of William Blake. The tiger is a much more popular poem than the lamb, but William Blake has written a poem titled The Lamb, which invites comparison and also contrast with the tiger. There is something I failed to say. I'm really sorry. I'm very stressed these days. I should have spoken about the meter of the poem. I did not do so. I shall do so now. If you're asked to write on the stylistic aspects of the poem, you must speak about the meter. You must discuss the meter at least briefly. You should point out that the poem The Tiger of William Blake consists of six quatrains rhyming AABB. You must point out that each quatrain is a rhyming couplet. The meter used in the tiger is trochee. Trochee is a very interesting meter. The trochaic meter. In the trochaic meter, each foot consists of two syllables. I repeat, each foot consists of two syllables. The first syllable is stressed and the second is unstressed. The first syllable is long and the second is short. The trochaic meter provides the poem a rare vibrancy, makes it appealing to children and young adults.